From the Hill. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good to be with you, Bill.
You're making a lot of headlines here. Part of your proposal, education, $80 billion in cuts. Agriculture, $42 billion. Transportation's at $42 billion. Energy and housing and urban development, both at $50 billion. Give me a sense of your thinking. Why these programs, Senator?
Well, the interesting thing is we proposed $500 billion in cuts. That's only a third of 1 year's deficit. That's how enormous this problem is. Many here in official Washington think, oh, well, $500 billion is too dramatic. When I go to a Tea Party, they say, what about the other $1 trillion you're spending that you don't have? The American people are ready for spending cuts. I just don't think Washington's quite gotten the message fully, but we have to do something about it. If we do what the president proposes, which is freeze a small segment of the budget at 2010 levels, we'll add nearly $4 trillion to the debt in the next 5 years. It's unsustainable, and we have to do something serious about it.
Why do you think Washington doesn't get it? What gives you that impression?
Well, because, you know, the Republican alternative to President Obama's freeze is to freeze that small segment at 2008 levels. But the Republican proposal will add $3 trillion of debt over the next 5 years. It's not enough. You have to be more bold. We need more bold leadership here, because if we don't, my fear is that we're going to face a debt crisis in the next few years.
We may face a debt crisis over the next 3.5 weeks. In your piece in the Wall Street Journal from yesterday, you don't even get into Social Security or Medicare. Now you know that you have 4 pillars that must be attacked in order to bring down this $14 trillion. Social Security, Medicare, then you add Medicaid and defense spending. Is that next?
What we chose to do with this bill is we did address military spending, we did address domestic spending, but we wanted to prove to those in Washington and America that you could cut $500 billion and not touch entitlements. But you're going to have to look at entitlements. And I told people that, you know what, we've already told them how to fix the budget this month. Next month, we're going to tell them how to fix Social Security. And you can fix Social Security. We will introduce a bill next year that will make Social Security solvent for 75 years. It's a matter of willpower. Everybody up here knows how to fix Social Security, but it's a matter of willpower. Someone has to be brave enough to say, look, it won't be easy, but this is what we have to change the system to fix the system.
You were the first to criticize Paul Ryan, a fellow Republican out of Wisconsin. His $32 billion proposed in cuts this year, you called it insufficient. When it comes to foreign aid, you're drawing some ire from countries like Israel, where you've talked about cutting off foreign aid, and you're taking heat on that. On Egypt, Senator Lindsey Graham said this last night. He said, I think national security programs that need to be protected, like national security spending, yes, reform is on the table, but getting out of the foreign operations assistant to our friends' business only buys trouble. It's a penny wise and a pound foolish, in my view. To your colleagues, Ryan and Graham, you say what, Senator?
Well, I would say that if you ask the American people, does it make sense to borrow money from China to send it to foreign countries? I think 70% of the American people in a recent poll said that they think it's a bad idea to borrow money from China to send it to other countries. And that includes even our allies. I want to be a friend of Israel. I support Israel as our greatest ally in the Middle East, but at the same time, we can't give them money that we don't have.
Well,
we just can't do it.
But you have to figure out a way that if you really want your cuts to be implemented, you have to find allies. How are you going to do that?
I think circumstances are going to bring allies to us. The circumstances are becoming more dire with each passing day. We're talking about, I went to a presentation just recently that says that Japan's debt is so large now that it's an inevitability that Japan is headed towards a crisis. Those same people say that we're within a year or two behind Japan if we don't straighten our ways. What I'm saying is, before we have a crisis on our hands, let's start looking at things logically and let's try to fix our budgetary problems. We can fix. Every problem up here has an answer if you have the willpower to do it.
Well, that's an interesting point, because you've been in Congress 2 months now, right? You know, throughout your life, you know, you've trailed your father and his experiences in Washington. What have you learned over the past few months that you think America needs to understand about how either Washington does work, does not work, or in your view can work?
Well, I think America is already there. The grassroots of America, the Tea Party has woken up, and they think, yes, start cutting spending. Yes, don't pass this debt on to our kids and our grandkids. The problem is the message from the grassroots has only been partially transmitted to Washington. Here in Washington, they think, oh, if I propose to reform Social Security, they will unelect me. I think the opposite is true. I think if you're bold, forthright, look at how popular Chris Christie is, and he stands up and he says what's on his mind. He says we have to do this. If you will stand up in Washington and speak the truth, I think I can still be elected, and maybe by a wider margin. So I don't even think it's a political handicap to be in favor of telling the truth.
Senator, thank you for your time. We will speak again because it's going to be with us for years to come. Rand Paul,
thanks, Bill.
Out of Kentucky. Thank you for your time. Martha.
Very interesting. All right. Well, really on that same note, Republicans and the Tea Party